Let me be perfectly clear. This video is not about bullying an author or gatekeeping reading, or it is definitely not about me saying that you're stupid if you enjoy reading dark romantasy or romance novels in general. This video is about an interview that accidentally and almost perfectly exposed everything that is broken within the modern romance space, more specifically within the dark romantasy genre. And I don't say that lightly. Because when I first saw this interview going viral on TikTok, I thought, oh my God, here we go again. These people are being dramatic. But then I watched the interview, all of it. And I can tell you guys for a fact that you guys are not prepared for how bad this interview is. Not in a funny way, in a deeply, deeply concerning way. Hello, my gorgeous viewers and readers. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I hope your weekend was filled with cold walks around the park, piping hot tea, cozy blankets, and a book that is low-key giving you the ick, but you're forcing yourself to read because quitting feels like defeat. Today, we're going to talk about an author interview that has made the rounds on TikTok. It has created outrage, confusion, loads of memes, and more specifically, it has created a lot of uncomfortable conversations. And after watching the interview myself, I realized something very important. This interview doesn't just reflect poorly on one author. It actually reflects a much bigger systemic problem in how romance, but more specifically dark romantasy, is being written, published, marketed, and rewarded. So let's talk about it calmly but honestly. The interview I'm referring to is called Why Jasmine Mars Left Big Law to Become an Author, and it was created by Morgan Book and Bookish Media. That's the interview that we are talking about, and this is the interview that has been making rounds on TikTok. And before I go any further, let me make a few things very clear because nuance matters here. I don't know Jasmine Mars personally. I haven't read any of her books. I was actually planning on reading her books, but after the interview, I'm not really sure if I want to. But most importantly, and this is key here, I am not questioning her intelligence, her success, or her right to write. She is clearly very successful. She has actually found an audience, and honestly, good for her. She deserves her flowers, right? This video is not about me being jealous or me being bitter or me saying that she should have never written a book. This is not what this video is about. This video is about what this interview has actually revealed about the dark romantasy genre or the modern romance genre in general, right? This is much bigger than just an individual author. At the beginning of the interview, Jasmine Mars introduces herself. She explains that she is a lawyer, or she was a lawyer. She has a major in classical history, specializing in Greek and Roman history, if I am not mistaken, and also that she left her law career after her writing took off.
When I was an undergrad, and I was just studying, I also studied government too, so I had two majors. It was like classical studies and government.
And honestly, that is so impressive, like genuinely impressive, right? Like you deserve flowers here. This is a great milestone. And honestly, as someone, like if you have two majors, you have two degrees, you should definitely show off, right? And also taking into account that you are right, or that she as a writer is writing about classical history and more specifically Greek mythology, I would say that her major is actually one of her biggest strengths.
So that's why, and I want to do Greek mythology.
Yes.
Because my major, I'd always been like looking to.
Right, yeah.
Which she then introduces us to her new book, Blood of Hercules, which according to Goodreads and her own TikTok page, this book is a dark romantasy retelling of the history of Hercules, right? She says that it is slightly inspired on Hercules, mentioning that the main character is actually Hercules, but gender bended. But then also she mentions that everything around the history or the story of the book is actually deeply influenced in Greek history, according to her own TikTok page. And honestly, I thought this would be like, I thought this was really cool. But then naturally, as the interview progresses, the interviewer starts asking her questions about Greek mythology. And that is where things get suspicious. The worst part is that it's not even subtle, right? We see from the get-go, once the interviewer starts asking her questions about Greek mythology, that she deeply stumbles and she just blanks out, right? She doesn't know the answer of the questions. For example, she doesn't know that Apollo and Artemis are twins, which I think is something extremely basic from Greek mythology, especially if you have like a major in classical history that specializes in both Greek and Roman mythology. And also she doesn't know Atlas the Titan. And more specifically, in that part of the interview, she mentions, or like she basically admits that she has only done the research that is directly like influenced in her book, right? She only has researched the gods that appear in her book.
Who is Apollo's twin?
Oh, actually, I don't know.
Now, let me pause here for a second, because I know for a fact that I'm going to have people in the comments saying authors are allowed to take creative liberties. And yes, you are absolutely right. Authors are more than welcome to reinterpret mythology, to change things within the myths, and also to modernize said myths. Like, I have never said that people cannot do this. I myself do that when I write. I love to take original mythology and just change it and like reinterpret things, or like take another meaning, or even change things that I think would fit better. You are absolutely allowed to do that. Actually, in the Iliad or in the Odyssey, that's exactly what Homer does. But there is a key difference between taking creative liberties and not knowing the source material at all, right? Like, you cannot tell me that your book is deeply inspired in Greek mythology, or that it's rooted in a classical myth, or it's a dark retelling, when you actually don't even know the telling or the myth at all. Because if you market your book as deeply influenced by Greek mythology, then basic mythological knowledge is not optional, especially if you claim that you have knowledge in Greek history, because the most basic knowledge that everyone has about ancient history is how intertwined said history is with the mythology. We see that with the Greeks, with the Babylonians, we see that with the Romans as well. Like, we all know how deeply intertwined these two like topics are together, right? So it's not even about knowledge, or it's not even about how accurate your book is regarding said mythology. It's about basic respect. Greek mythology isn't just an aesthetic wallpaper. This isn't just vibes, as you mentioned. It is an incredibly complex system of stories that have survived for thousands of years. Okay, this tells us, Greek mythology tells us about culture, about ancient history, which apparently you care a lot about, but also it tells us about how people lived their lives. It tells us about humanity. These stories have been preserved and taken care of for millennia, and you using Greek mythology as a Pinterest mood board is just disrespectful. But honestly, as questionable as these mythology issues are, what triggered me the most is actually the way Jasmine Mast talks about her writing and her reading. In the interview, she openly admits that she doesn't know how to pronounce her own characters' names.
I think I like Karen.
Yeah.
Sharon. I don't even know how to say his name, so I call him Karen.
She doesn't remember if she ever mentioned the river Styx in her book, but also her books are apparently filled with memes and TikTok references, which, okay, not my taste, but fine. But then she said something that made my jaw drop. She mentions that she is an avid reader, that she loves reading, that she reads too many books to count a year. But then she explained that she is a skim reader. Like, she full on admits that she skims books, pages, and paragraphs, but also, most importantly, that she writes in a way that caters to skim reading, right? She said that she writes short paragraphs, short dialogues, and stuff like that in order to make sure that people can successfully skim. And then somehow it gets worse, because she even says that when she's editing, she actually also skims. Like, she edits her books by skimming like the pages and the paragraphs to make sure that they are easy to read.
Then I'll edit it to try to catch it, because I like to skim, so I don't like see stuff as much.
Yep.
It's like the way I like to read.
Let's pause for a moment and sit down with this information. You're telling me that there's a writer who not only skims pages when she reads, but also skims when she edits. That is not a process. That is not a workflow. What you're doing is just quickly running through your edits so you can publish more and more frequently. This interview is the perfect case study of everything that is broken with modern romance, more specifically with dark romantasy. This interview shows that this is not laziness, this is intentional shallowness. These books are not meant to be reread. They are not even meant to be studied, and most definitely, they are not meant to linger in history or in time. To me, these books are written to be consumed quickly, skimmed easily, and definitely immediately forgotten. For many of these authors, the priority is not world building or plot building or researching and even crafting a good story. The priority here seems to be tropes, smut, virality, and marketability. And what's even scarier is that even these authors are not actually properly reading their own books because they are skimming as they edit. So to me, at this point, what it seems is that these authors, what they are doing is they are not writing craft, they are not writing art. What they are trying to do is to become the next viral sensation. What you guys want is to be the next book that you must read this year, or if you like this book, you should read this one, right? What you want is to become viral, to become, just to become marketable for an audience that doesn't even care about your book. They don't even care about your art or craft. Let me be clear one last time. If you like romance or if you enjoy reading dark romantasy, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Even if you read one from time to time, or if you read it for your comfort, or even if that's the only thing that you read, that there is nothing wrong with that. I respect that. And honestly, that is good for you, because the only thing that you're doing here is read. You are supporting the writing craft and you're supporting the art. I love that. But we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to see and we need to understand that there is a bigger problem in publishing, and it's the fact that we are focusing on marketability and virality over art and craft. Because what we are doing is that we are rewarding speed over substance. We are focusing on virality and marketability and trends over any sort of art or talent. And this interview is actually the perfect example of this. This actually showcases everything that is wrong with the publishing industry. And here, what we can say is that this is not an issue that publishing or the publishing industry will solve itself. This is something that starts from us, from the readers. We actually need to make a change. We need to ask our authors and our writers more. We need to show that we care about talent, that we care about substance more than we care about speed or tropes or smart. We actually need to make the decision and to actually make changes to bring back art and to bring back talent, the talent that is so much needed. If we want better books, we need to demand better writing. And this doesn't start with the authors, it starts with us as readers. We need to do better, because that is the only way we can find a change. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the interview if you have watched it, or if you have any other input that I might have missed in this video. If you like this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel, or you can also follow me on my social media pages. I post there every day. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. See you soon, guys. Bye.